What is up, guys? Pastor Tanner here. Mark 6, 1-6, sermon prep. Finishing this today because I got to preach it tomorrow. Hope you guys have had a great weekend thus far. I know I have. Friday was good. And I know for some the weekend's just getting going. I typically have Fridays off, which is nice. Alright. We had left off here. I needed to come up with a really compelling intro that talked about rejection. Needed to flesh out a little more on the miracles, and then I need to button up point number 1 on religious rejection. So let's think. I'm actually going to do some internet research right now. And let's do something like rejected by their family. I'm just looking for a story or something like that. I'm gonna bring this up over here. I'm gonna have to zoom this in. Is there a way to zoom this in? Like I said, I'm just looking for some story, some idea that can grab people's attention that talks about rejection. So these people just have kind of like practical solutions. Is it still? Yeah, those are just like tips. Family estrangement. Oh man, it's killing me. It doesn't stay zoomed. Control plus. I might have to just keep hitting this. Loss of previously existing relationship between family members through physical and or emotional distancing, often to the extent that there's little or no communication between the individuals involved for a prolonged period. May result from either direct interactions between those affected. So these are some ideas I can talk about. Domestic violence, abuse, neglect, material conflict and disagreements, differing values and beliefs, okay, I'm onto something here. This could be helpful. So family estrangement, I think, is a topic I should definitely cover. There's some good stuff there. I'm gonna have to keep zooming. Ooh, interesting. The question is kind of what's the biblical ideal when it comes to family? Like your actual family or physical family. Family is important biblically. That's why this is a struggle. Family is the central structure to all of society. I think I'll use 1 Timothy 5:8 as my backup verse. It highlights the importance of family. But I gotta recognize, not this entire sermon isn't just about family. It's related, but it's not all about that. So let's see. Again, it needs to be compelling. I need to grab people's attention. I think I just need to tell some stories. So maybe, like I'm thinking, a boy runs up to his father and is excited to tell him or show him something. And his father says, "Not now, I'm busy." He feels rejected. A girl looks out at a soccer game in the stands, searching for her parents. But they're not there. She feels rejected. The young boy feels rejected. So those are kids. What about adults?
Tuning out of starlight, the innocent lifetime flickers and flashes under a canvas. No, nobody seems worth it, while the feeling's sophisticated. The view is so restrained. The past is nearing closer and closer, I fear. So let's just cut the bullshit and tell me who's independent. Thumbs twiddling and your life's escaping your mind. Keep in mind, well, the airing's free as it used to be, but that's quite alright when you're still 18, it seems to be. And I'll tell you who's
So I got good ideas here, I think. The father comes home from work. These are all internal families, though. Comes home from work to laughter and games. But it's barely noticed. He feels like a stranger in his own home. I need to do something about extended family, I think, as well. I think these will grab people's attention, but let's do a mother. Maybe I should include elements of this. Traumatic experience, domestic violence, abuse, neglect. So I've included a lot of neglect. Marital conflicts and disagreements, attachment disorders, differing values and beliefs. Disappointment, major life events or changes, or poor communication. Maybe that will make it more compelling for people? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm gonna use names. I think that'll help. Eric. Why do they even have that button? Nobody ever uses the insert button, do they? The thing is, I gotta use names of people who don't actually attend my church. So I could tell all these stories, and then I can say that God has designed family to be the central structure of society. But families are made of people and people are messy. Rejection is commonplace. These examples are superficial. And then I can say, what about abuse? Neglect. What were some of the other ones on that Wikipedia? Abuse, neglect. Differing values. Are all reasons. The fact is, we all desire acceptance. Man. Well, I really went for it with the intro, huh? It was massive. Should my last tie-in here be? We are not alone in our rejection. Here in today's passage, Jesus experiences profound rejection and gives us some examples on how we can deal with it. Today, God wants us to know that because Jesus himself experienced rejection, we should not be discouraged by it in our own lives. The passage demonstrates rejection on two fronts. First, rejection of religion, or rejection from a religious standpoint. We'll see that in verses 1 and 2, and also in verse 4. Secondly, we see a familial rejection similar to many of the stories that I discussed. We'll see the familiar rejection, verses 3 and 4. And finally, I do want to address this concept of the limitation of miracles, the fact that Jesus is not able to do many miracles in verses 5 and 6. What's up with that? We'll talk about that at the end. So that's the direction we're going today. Let's start with religious rejection in verses 1 and 2, and also verse 4. Follow along with me in your Bibles. Man, I must be thirsty this morning. I already drained this. I'll be right back, guys. I'm gonna get some more water. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. Ooh, I should also mention biblical families are a mess. I don't know when I'll have time to do that. Joseph's brothers nearly killed him. They sold him into slavery. They thought he was dead. They lived with the guilt of that for years. Yeah, I like this intro. I think this will be good. Let's go with Steven. Why insert? Nobody likes insert. Okay. Let's go to verses 1, 2, and 4 so I can start putting point number 1 together. Jesus has been out doing miracles. He's been praised and lauded wherever he goes. He's encountered hardship and trouble. And he's not received here. Ministry. I wonder how old Jesus was in the Luke story when he says, you should have known I'm about my Father's business, or whatever. I think I had watched something on that from Strauss on Mark. Let's also check out, it's not Keener, I forget who the other one is, but it's a mobile ed course, so this should find it. Evans. think I already watched this. Yeah, I already watched this. My summer prep a while ago. But I also want to go into his history. That was in a different one. That was in Strauss. And it was like the historical Jesus or whatever. Jesus of the Gospels. There we go. There we go. Jesus' family life. How old was he? Boom. Now, where was I going to use that information? Right here. Exposure is no guarantee of faith. Since he was 12, he has probably been telling his family about God, all of these things. He has an increasing awareness of who he is and what God's plan for him is. And nothing. Just nothing from his family. This is gonna go here, this is gonna go here. This isn't the first time we've heard this. Religious rejection. Religion's very important to us. And of course we want those closest to us to accept. And then Mark. I like this music, man. Should I teach full-blown sovereignty here? Will that help people? I think I might. Oh, I can't listen to this song. I was like, I know this song. This song is not part of Monster Cat. Yeah, I wasn't allowed to listen to that one. Mixed in with the songs they have a few songs that are like off limits to stream, which is interesting. I was like, her voice sounds familiar. For what it's worth, that was, oh, what's her name? Mr. Wives is the name of the band. And the song is called Coffins, in case you were interested in that one. But I can't stream it. So do I go into Sovereignty here? I think I go to John 6 here. I know the Armenians in the audience might be upset by it, but it's needed. The work of God is this, to believe in the one whom he sent. For my Father's will is that everyone who looks to the Son and believes in him shall have eternal life. And I will raise them up on the last day. Just gonna check my audio balance real quick. I want to make sure I'm not blasting you with this music. I think it's okay. It might be a tad loud. Maybe I'll turn it down just a little bit. Especially since it has lyrics. I think I want to err on the side of being too quiet. Okay, there we go. Just down a tad. All those... I think I need to do John 6:35 to... $44. John 6:35 to 44. Oh boy. Oh boy. Simple question, why? And Jesus gives the answer. Let's go Mark 127. I just want to make sure. Many heard and were amazed, and they took offense at him. Verse 3. Just want this. There we go. So yeah, in Mark 127, it's clear that some don't take offense. The people were also amazed, and they asked each other, "What is this? A new teaching and with authority. He even gives the orders to impure spirits, and they obey him." And then if you go take that and go to 6:3, isn't this the carpenter? Isn't this Mary's son and the brother of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon? Aren't his sisters with us? And they took offense at him. Same message, same Jesus, two completely different responses, two completely different reactions. So I want to compare those two verses and point out some reject, some don't. It's the game. It's how it goes. Some people are convinced by it, some aren't. That's just how it goes. Ooh, I forgot forgot this phrase. I wanted that in there. These might need to come up here now. Man, I'm quickly gonna run out of space with this one. Yeah, even those brought up in the church might reject. It is what it is. Excuse me, sorry about that. Or maybe I can stretch this and make it skinny. Single tile high. I wonder if this will fit down here. Yeah, that's fine. I wonder if I can prove some of this as well from Romans 11. Romans 11:25 to 26. '25 and 28, maybe. '25 and 28. '25, 28. I want to plug this idea into there. Man, why did the music stop? Oh, I don't want to play the same song. That's weird. Let's go with this. I was like, surely another song's gonna come on soon. Nope, it was gonna chill. Maybe these go up here. The reason I'm doing all this right now is because my blue is going to encroach on my red. So I need to make it to where my red points have room to move up. And I can fix these arrows a little bit later. I just needed more room over here. And then the way I'm going to transition into this is I need to get rid of this. Okay, I can see how this is going to go now in my head. These are all like applications. I need to move this up even more. Let me fix point number 2 first. Gosh, what a mess. Okay, so what I'm going to tell them is I'm getting at one last thing that they need to understand. But this needs to go. This. Not understanding this is the root to a terrible problem in the church. Verse 3, why? No, I need to ask the question, why were they offended? Why were they offended? They're offended because he's a simple working man. From a human perspective. Because I'm going to tell them why they're offended from a godly perspective. And they're offended because he's a simple working man. He doesn't look like a Messiah. So I think what happens in the church is we see this. We see that people are offended by the simplicity, right? And we think, okay, I need to change the simplicity, but there's a corollary here. And it has to do with external perfectionism, looking good on the outside. So how do I go from simple working man being offensive to telling people to stop pursuing external perfectionism? Trying to think of how to get there. Just need to figure out how to get there. We see people reject, and sometimes they just reject. We don't need to edit our lives. James on Twitch says, "Yo, how you doing, James? Good to see you. Can only stay for 35 minutes. That's no problem. No problem at all. I completely understand. I'm glad you popped in." So we see people reject. And edit our lives accordingly. Because we don't want to be the cause of their rejection. We don't want to be a stumbling block. But what ends up happening is we end up portraying a facade of external perfectionism to people because we don't want them to be offended by our lives, and we kill our gospel witness because we're not being authentic and vulnerable. James says, "Speaking of cracked pots, I find that if you try to appeal to people with lies, etc., you might get quantity, but you don't get quality." I like that, James, and that's part of what I'm getting at here, is these people were offended at Jesus, and he just kind of let them be offended. Like, he didn't edit his life to try and appeal to them. If we go Mark 6:3, look at this. Isn't this the carpenter? Isn't this Mary's son and the brother of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon? Aren't his sisters with us? And they took offense at him, right? And Jesus didn't, like, edit his life to try and be less offensive to them. He just let them take offense. But we don't do that. We edit our lives. We try and put up a mask or a facade like we've got it all together. This external perfectionism. We try to put forth an external perfectionism because we think that is meaningful witness to people. We think that's going to be a meaningful gospel witness. If externally I look like my life is good and I've got it all together, then you're going to want to become a Christian because you should think that it's Jesus is the reason that my life is good and I've got it all together. But the exact opposite is the case. We end up editing our lives to try and promote an external perfectionism, and people can see right through that. They can tell that you are lying to them about your life, and you're actually killing your gospel witness because you're not being authentic and vulnerable. Being authentic and vulnerable is what enables people to see, wow, you're real, and I am interested in Jesus now because you are a real representation of him. And so we need to crush the external perfectionism and instead be cracked pots that allows the divine light within us to shine through. Let people see the cracks. This is essential to our biblical witness. So I think this will be a powerful idea as I talk about religious rejection. The question of why people reject, I think if we can answer that correctly, it changes how we interact and demonstrate the gospel to others. So I think you're 100% right, James. And that's why I'm going this direction with the sermon. Because if you try to appeal to people with lies, you might get quantity. If you try to tell everybody everything's all good and God just wants you to be rich and fat and happy, sure, you might get more people, like you're saying, but you're not going to get quality. You're not going to get true converts that love Jesus and want to live for him. I just need to figure out how to structure this so I have room. James says, I see it as a social support network. Yeah, that's awesome. You mean the church? James says, if you look out, if you look for a lot of people, you'll get it. But how many will actually help you out? I see what you mean. Yeah, James. No, that's good. And that's important. Oh, this doesn't actually come from here. It comes from here. This is the flow of thought. Man, my arrows are getting silly. That's how you know you got too much content. But, as Rafe said, it's too late now. It's too late now. So that's where I can plug this right in. This will be this color. I just got too much stuff, James. I can't fit it all. I just can't fit it all. James says, but if you look for quality and try to get the people who actually are caring, kind, etc., you get people who will help you out when needed. Yeah, I think that's 100% true, James. Jesus had only a small following. 12 disciples, or, apostles, and one of them betrayed him. But he had quality people who started a revolution. It says in Acts, people were concerned because they were turning the world upside down, right? Powerful revolution. And then my final appeal in this section is going to be to talk about the Gerasene demoniac. Kind of ask the question, do you think the Gerasene demoniac had his whole life together and was externally perfect? No, absolutely not. But the fact that he was messed up is the reason that Jesus is powerful in his life. James says, you can see this in all sorts of things. Look at the Russian revolutions. The Bolsheviks were few in number, yet they had dedicated, effective, and disciplined members and leaders. Yeah, that's awesome. We tend to think that we need lots of numbers, right? We need a huge following. We need tons of people. This stream is even an interesting example, I think. We don't have very many people that are in this stream, but I've got a good dedicated group of like 4 or 5 of you guys, and I love interacting with you, and it's helpful and encouraging, and that's great. I don't see anything wrong with that. I like your perspective on that, James. I'm gonna do this one with the pink. Yeah, that'll be good. People will resonate with that. I have an illustration where there was this woman who attended a church I was in, and she was so embarrassed because she had lots and lots of tattoos from her previous lifestyle. And the pastor told her, "Don't be embarrassed about your tattoos. They're badges of honor. Because they're part of your witness to others." And she was no longer embarrassed about them. I think that was a helpful idea for her. James says, "I'm not saying they were good, just that they succeeded partly because of that." Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, intro's good, strong. Point number 1 is good. It's going to be controversial, but I think it teaches some important aspects. First Corinthians 7:12-20 is where I was going to go. Yeah, and these are principles that apply. Man, this sermon's going to be long. James says, "Yep, also too often we try to vilify our enemies too much. Like, for example, we say they're hypocrites, corrupt people, etc. Yeah, I don't think it's biblical to attack your enemies like that. Jesus said to love your enemies, to pray for those who are your enemies, all those things. And I don't think enough people do that, to be frank. I like how the sermon developed. I like some of the ideas that are in it. I hope it's helpful for people. I'm lacking illustrations throughout here. I need to find a good spot to plug in a single illustration, I think. James continues on us trying to vilify our enemies. He says, we say they're hypocrites, they're corrupt people, etc. Even when they aren't, I think we need to learn that even as monstrous as they seem to us, they are human, or we're human. Yeah, I agree 100%. And they see the world differently, they think about it differently than us, and that's okay. I want to convince them of my position. I'm not afraid to confront them and talk about those things. But ultimately, it's something that's not up to me, right? So, give me 1 second. Just spam. No problem there, just spam. Man, this is coming together. It's a monster, though. It's an absolute monster. Look at this thing. Woo! James says, like the leaders of the French Revolution for existence, they refused bribes. Hitler loved his mother, etc. We need to learn that monsters, at least in humanity, are human, lest we end up like them. I agree 100%, James. Absolutely. Jesus said to love your enemies, to pray for those who spitefully use you, those who persecute you, all of those things. I think an illustration for this is the Hunger Games. Hunger Games. And I'm specifically thinking like the third one. What happens in the third one? Sequels. Like, in the third one, they go into the Hunger Games. And they're, like, teaming up with each other. Let's see, what's the plot? The plot of Hunger Games. Here we go, plot. It might be the second one I'm thinking of. Yeah, let me look at the second one. Sequels Catching Fire. Plot. Yeah, and the second episode, in the second movie in the series, other people from districts are trying to help Katniss. I don't know if it's a family though. Man, I'm struggling to come up. I feel like we're almost done. I just need to come up with a last illustration of people unifying and experiencing familial unity, right? Well, check that out, James. That seems interesting. James says there's a scene in catching fire where they put their hands in a circle. Let me check that out. That might be enough to unify it. Yeah, I can't find that scene. I just need something where people who have differing ideas and opinions come together and are united in a familial way. In a sense, creating a new family. That's all I need. Ooh, Guardians of the Galaxy might be a really good one. Yeah, because these people are all from different walks of life, right? Yeah. I still think I prefer the Hunger Games one. They're both good. I think I will go with Hunger Games. Let's go Hunger Games. I don't know where to put it now, though. And I'll actively think over the next 24 hours if there's a better example for this. But for now, I think Hunger Games is good. Guardians of the Galaxy is good, too. Let's see, I can maybe do this. Can do this, and then I can do this. Yeah, I think this is the answer. And then I'll just talk briefly on miracles, since this is already going to be a long sermon. I think it's good. I like it. Oh man, this song has a long outro. There we go. Let's try to speed up the outro a little bit. Like I said, I'll try to maybe think of a different movie or that I can use for this one. And maybe I use multiple ones. Maybe I talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, all that type of stuff, and I can say even something to the effect of, there's a reason that these stories of bands of misfits who come together for a common purpose and goal resonate with us, because they reflect the church. Yeah, I like that. So I'm actually gonna put Hunger Games, Guardians of the Galaxy, and of Misfits. Why do these stories resonate with us? Because they're real, and they tie into what the church is and supposed to be. They're fictional versions of what real life versions are. I think that's better. And I could just mention a couple. Alright, guys. I am going to call it. This thing is done. I don't think I could squeeze another point into here if I tried. It's completely done. I'm going to think a little bit more about this illustration. I'll practice probably a little bit later today. And then I'll be ready to preach it tomorrow. I know you had to go soon anyway, James. And so I know I'm cutting the stream an hour early, but it's done. And I'm going to take off and get going with the rest of my Saturday. I hope you all have a great weekend. Thanks for stopping in, James. I appreciate our discussion, even though it was short and you only had 35 minutes. But I appreciate all that and the interaction. And I hope that you guys have a fantastic Saturday, a great weekend, and a good Lord's Day tomorrow. Take care. God bless. Bye now.